let's just get some drums going. And the way that I'm gonna do this is just go get a bunch of kicks, put them on a drum rack. Go get a bunch of claps, put them on a drum rack. A bunch of open hats, put them on the drum rack. And so that's what I'm gonna start doing right now. All right, so I got some kicks down here. I got 14, right? Yeah, 14, so 12 and then 2 more. And then 16 different claps to try, and then like 12 different open hats. So now it's just a matter of looking through them and trying to find ones that are gonna work well together. So let's start off with the kick, and I'm just gonna go through and find the kick that works. All right, so I like these two right here.
God damn, that is an intense kick.
These are both really nice. So let's check out what the fundamentals are of these different kicks. So that's a G sharp. Okay, what is this guy? That's a G. So let's move on to claps. And obviously we got to delete these guys. I'm gonna turn the volume down. Okay, I like that sound. It's a pretty cool sound. That's a good one right there for sure. All right, so now let's go through these claps with the other kick. Those are all good clap sounds. All right, let's move on to the open hat. So we need to get eighth notes here, and we will go ahead and draw these guys in. Duplicate this out. Wow, I don't think so. Damn, those are all good sounds there, aren't they? I think I'm gonna go with that combination though. All right, so that's the combination, and I'm sticking to it. So let's go ahead and export these drum sounds. How many are there? So 1, 2 claps, and 3 hats. So 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Andy Bernard. So this guy's gonna go over here. This guy's gonna go right here. All right, cool. So we have those sounds. And now let's try to get a percussion motif. Now what I'm gonna do is just search through a bunch of loops that I have until I find a couple cool ideas. And when I have a bunch of loops on the screen, then I'll show you what I have found. All right, so I got a couple loops here, and what I started doing at the end with these 2 loops is I started to get an idea. And so let me show you what's going on here. With this loop, if I just take off all of the envelope automation, check this out. And so let me play. that's cool, right? So what I wanted to do was just get rid of everything but these guys right here. Just take the pencil and draw out the sections that you want. And so I just want to keep this little percussion section right here. So I'm just going to draw that down, and same thing over there. So I'm just OCD about that. So now it's just... All right, next I want to check out what the swing values are for these different tracks. So if I come over to Solardo's track, maybe we'll go to the end of the song, see what the swing value is. All right, so if we zoom in here, we see that the swing value is a 1/28 note. And so this is the basic idea behind swing value. So if I come out to a quarter note, we see this is a quarter note right here. And a quarter note is just a beat. So every time the kick lands, that's a quarter note. Now a quarter note can be divided up into 16th notes. So all you have to do is divide a quarter note by 4, because 1/4 times 1/4 equals 1/16. So here we are, 1/16th note. So if we zoom in, we have 4 16th notes in a quarter note. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Now what swing is you take the 2nd and 4th 16th note, so this one and this one, and you just delay it a little bit. You just play it a little later than you would. As you can see, this little percussion hit is delayed. It's just pushed back a little bit. And so the question is how much is that delayed? So I'm going to come back to narrow here in Ableton, and I can see that is delayed by exactly this value that I have highlighted here. And what is that value? Well, it's a 1/28th note down here at the bottom. And so the Solardo track, at least this percussion element, has a swing value of a 128th. Now, not all producers are going to keep to a uniform swing value. I like to, just because it just lets me be much more precise. Let's come back over here. All right, so let's check out what the swing values are here. So if I zoom in, you can see that this down here, these divisions are 1/28th notes. So what I'm going to do is move this on and move this over to the 1/28th note. And I'm also going to keep this on transient, and I'm going to move it to the transient mode, where it's only playing the sample back and then it stops. All right, and just to make it feel like it's a little bit cleaner, I'm going to pull this back from 100 to about 90. And that's just going to shorten the amount that Ableton plays back through the sample. It's almost like taking the end of the sample and sampler and only allowing the sample to be played back by a certain amount. Here's another loop that I found, and I think I did the same thing. And so as you can see what I did, and this is the only thing I did. I went through all the percussion loops, and then the last two here, I started getting into this because I got a little excited. And so again, what I did is just take out the bits that I like. Let's take away the first percussion part. Just make sure that everything is on the grid the way that it needs to be. This is a 16th note right here, so what we need to do is make sure it's swung by a 1/28th note. So let's go like that. There we go. Actually, I'm going to undo that, and I'm going to put one right here. That way, when I move this one, this sample is not affected. So I'm going to swing this guy. There we go. Here's another one that needs to be swung, and we'll just go like that. And what we'll do is just keep on going here. Just tightening up the audio a little bit. I don't want to have just immediate fade outs. I like to get a percussion going. I like to get the kick, the clap, and the open hat going, because that's the core of the whole track really. And I like to get a percussion motif going first, because it's really easy just to go find some percussion loops and get a couple that work together and create a cool groove, because then that's going to give me something to work off of when I write the bass line. But I'm going to keep on just going through these loops right here and just see what else we have. These are all just loops that I thought had a cool element to it, and some of these I labeled. So let's check this one out. This one says Great Groove. That does have a great groove. All right, so what we're gonna do now is just make sure these are all on the right swing value. And so one of the things I'm gonna do too is come over to the LFO tool and just take care of some of the transients. So let's come over here. So we can see the transients are really just happening on the eighth note and the quarter notes. So what we're gonna do is bring them down with the LFO tool here. And so now when I bring back the depth, I'm able to see the level of the transients relative to the other parts of the signal. And so I can just make them the same volume. And so now all the transients are the same level as the other guys. So. And so what I'm gonna do is smooth out these guys. So here we have this guy. And I like that da-da-da-da. I might only keep half of them though, so let's check it out. And again, let's just move this on to the right swing value. So this needs to be on time. All right, so now we have those all aligned, but what I need to do now is just kind of make these fades a little bit more natural. So we'll just go like this. Copy this over. Actually, I could do it like this. There we go. So without the kicks and claps, and so this has the hummability, and so if something's hummable, it's catchy. And so we have a little kind of melody with the percussion. All right, I like this percussion bit right here. Let me play this. And I needed to actually start this percussion on the second beat right here. Just got to move the starting point because I like when these two little shaker sounds kind of accent the next downbeat. So just kind of pulls you in a little bit more. So you have that kind of hummable, what's it called, percussion motif. All right, so we're gonna keep those, and I'm just gonna kind of delete the stuff that I don't really need from the loop. Before I do that, what I need to do is Shift Command U to get these guys open. I'm gonna quantize to eighth notes right now. Okay. Cool, and then we could just fix the 16ths on our own. So we're gonna zoom in to 128. So this guy needs to go right there. That's good, okay. All right, so let's go ahead and start cutting some things out here. Check this guy out. All right, I like that. Let's just see what the pitch is on these guys. All right, so the pitch is G. That's perfect because that's what our track is in. And so what I'm gonna do is I only like these and this one right here. So I'm just gonna take these. All right, cool. So now that we have placed that in the right swing value, we've cleaned it up. All right, moving on. What do we have here? Those are cool. Let's try this. Let's try taking this, and then we're gonna move them over here. Now let's see if this noise right here sits well on top of that. All right, let's check the pitch of this sample. Okay, so this needs to be tuned. This sound in particular right here needs to be tuned to the key of G, which is what our track is in. So this is an E, we need to just bring it down to a D. So since I'm dealing with individual samples, I don't need to worry about the fact that this is actually a 124 BPM loop. It doesn't really matter. And so what I'm gonna do is just come in here, turn warp off. That's gonna change the sound slightly. And then I'm just gonna transpose it down 2 semitones to a D. And now we're good to go there. And let's go ahead and just fade that. So if we look, everything is now tuned, everything is still locked to the grid. And we see that this is now a D. And so what we're working on here is getting the 2 percussion motifs, like the Solardo track has 2 percussion motifs. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna combine this, and this is gonna be motif 2A, because this is the motif lift. And then what we need is a motif 2B, which is going to be the lower. And then so let's mute this and go get the other motif. That's motif 1. Now this great groove here, that's going to just be playing through the whole track. That's just, we're just going to do like perc loop 1 or something like that. And that's just going to be awesome playing through the whole track. But this is the first motif. Okay, so we're going to group these guys. And we're going to call this motif 1A. Okay, cool. So let's move this up here. So we have motif 1A, motif 2A, and then we also have the lower percussion loop. I hope I didn't, oh, there we go. Low perc right here. This guy. Anyway, this is G, so let's just, I'm just gonna label this G. Okay, so next, let's also make sure that motif 1A is in tune. And so what I'm gonna do is, now this has all these volume envelopes applied to it within the clip. So I'm just gonna go ahead and hit Command J, and that's gonna bounce it. Let's go get the spectrum analyzer. So let's see, G, A, and E. It's kind of more like an A7, A minor 7. I guess what we could do actually is pitch it down 2 semitones, because then that's going to be closer to a G minor 7. So let's go ahead and try that. What I'm going to do is just work on these 2 right here. And so let's come in here and undo this, and then we're going to drop it 2 semitones. We're going to drop this 2 semitones as well. So if we come in here now, we're going to have G, F, and D playing. So G, F, and D. So this makes a G minor 7. So let's go ahead and play. And let's go over here and see if it makes a difference. Over here. It just sounds a million times better, doesn't it? Why? Because it's in tune. And I'm going to Command J that. And then we're going to go ahead and just enable loop here. And there we go. Okay, so that one's done. Let's check this one. Okay, so we have a G sharp in the low one. That's a G sharp. So what I'm going to do again is consolidate the region. And let's go ahead and just start separating the hits out. And that's going to be really easy because we know that they're exactly on time. So this is a G sharp. So what we're going to do is experiment with transposing it down one. So let's go ahead and just loop this. Okay, so it sounds better 1 semitone down because now when we come and check this note out, it's going to be in tune. It should be a G. And there it is, a G. What's this note? So a D. So we have a G, a D, and D is a fifth above G, so that works out perfectly. Okay, so now we just need to get this note. And so I think it's in tune exactly where it is. We're just going to consolidate this and we'll go ahead and loop it. And there we go. Cool. So now I know that motifs are tuned to the key of the song. So you saw me go through the percussion, and I did the same thing for tops loops. I wanted to look for some sounds that were super tops, like 5K and above, just to really lift the mix and make it taller, lift the production. I'll just show you a couple of the tops loops that I came across. And so here's one. Well, that's not really what it is. As you can see, I've done what I usually do, which is where I'll cut the things out that I don't like. And I love this because it's just a very metallic 3 to 5K snare sound, very short and snappy. This is another one that I found. Let's play it. All right, super simple. And as you can see, it's just part of like a much bigger loop. But all I did was just get these two sounds. And as per usual, this is delayed by a 1/28th note. And we have the transient loop function off, and I pulled the transient back to 90. If we add that in now. All right, next one, let's listen to this. Okay, so this was, if I just extend the loop out a little bit, let's extend this out. So it's just part of a larger loop, but all I wanted was these first two hits. And if I'm going to take these first two hits, there's no reason for me to come in here and kind of warp these two, because you can see this is a 64th note swing, and I need to bring that into a 1/28th note. But rather than having to do this and then warp this audio, what I did was just cut the sample and just move it forward a little bit. And as you can see, I used some crossfades just to kind of smooth it out a little bit. But that's all that's going on here, and then I just duplicated those two hits across for every beat. And as you can see, I panned it all the way to the right. And so, here we go. So without it, with it, just adding a little bit of extra stuff. And then we have this guy. What is this? I really like this one, just a really textural loop. All right, and so adding that in, it's not going to do very much, it just adds a little bit of air. Here's the next thing. So this is a great mid texture. So here we have one sound they're both playing 16th notes. They both have the 128 swing, but they're in different areas of the frequency range. And so next I have this guy. And I really like that almost crushed top to this one. That's really simple, as you can imagine. All I'm doing is just taking the parts that I want. All right, what's this one? All right, pretty self-explanatory, just a tambourine. That's just sitting right on top of the kick. The great thing about our kick, though, is that it has room on top. If we look at the LFO tool on the master, you'll see that it's pretty flat. And so it gives us some headroom up here. Finally, we have this guy. Just a nice top hat lift, as I labeled it here, and that just sits right on top of the hat. So let's go after Solardo's bass sound.